Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we are back with another Pioneer deck tech. And today, we're going to be talking about Big Red Kavu. I never thought I was going to be doing a Kavu deck tech here, especially in Pioneer, but here we are. As always, at the end of the video, let me know in the comment section below, what do you think about this deck? Is there a specific card I should have put in this deck that I did not? Or do you have suggestions for upcoming videos? Just let me know in the comment section. Okay, so Kavu. I've always really liked Kavu. I have this thing of like really liking really bad creature types. Like I was a big fan of like Viashinos back in the day. I've always thought Kobolds were kind of cool, and I've always really loved Kavu. And they've been pretty bad historically. Like occasionally there's like a decent Kavu that comes out every so often, but largely as a whole, the creature type is just not that strong. But then we got this really sweet card, Possibility Technician from Edge of Eternities, and this is a really, really good Kavu. I mean, just like whenever this or another Kavu enters, exile the top card of your library. For as long as that card remains exiled, you may play it if you control a Kavu, which is pretty darn good. Most of the Kavus that are going to be in this deck today are going to be Kavus that are from Edge of Eternities, but we also do have one Kavu that was before Edge of Eternities, which is pretty sweet. So let's go and hop into the actual deck here. So we're playing 26 creatures in this deck. We are a big red deck, which for those who don't know, big red is basically, it's a red, I don't want to say aggro deck, it's not even like a monster deck. It just, instead of trying to go like really fast with a bunch of burn spells, you kind of almost go a little bit more mid-rangey and you play like some bigger, you know, 3, 4, 5 mana threats. That's what we're trying to do. So that's why we don't have a million creatures in this deck, but we still have quite a few. And let's talk about the Kavus. We are playing 4 Terra Pact Intimidator and 4 Possibility Technician as our lower end creatures. Terra Pact Intimidator just seems so good. When it enters, basically, an opponent decides you either get 2 lander tokens, which helps you ramp, or you put 2 +1/+1 counters on this. So it's either a 4/3 for 2, or we get 2 lander tokens, which is going to help us ramp into our bigger threats. Overall, pretty much a win-win for us. I mean, both of those abilities are pretty darn solid, and then Possibility Technician is pretty self-explanatory. We get to play a lot of cards from exile, as long as we have a Kavu, and we have a lot of Kavus in this deck, so it's going to be pretty rare that we don't have one. But we also are playing 4 Defiler of Instinct and 3 copies of Tanuk Steadfast Second. So Defiler is the one Kavu in this deck that we're playing that's not from Edge of Eternities. I would say it's probably like the middle ground for the Defilers. Like, it's not too bad, but it's definitely not, you know, Defiler Vigor or anything like that. So whenever we cast a red spell, it deals 1 damage to any target, and then obviously we get the Phyrexian Text for colored mana, which is just pretty sweet. It helps, you know, reduce the cost of our deck a little bit where it's going to matter sometimes, which it certainly will. And then just having that really nice cast trigger is really, really nice. And then Tanuk. Other creatures you control have haste, 3/5 for 4. Artifacts, cards, and red creature cards in your hand have warp for 2 and a red, which means you may cast a card from your hand for its warp cost, exile that permanent at the beginning of the next end step, then you may cast it from exile on a later turn. Well, there's a few cards that we're playing with Tanuk that are going to be very, very good in this deck when we warp them. Most notably, Overlord of the Boiler Bilges and Trumpeting Carnosaur. These cards are both absolutely insane if we get to warp them, because Overlord comes in with haste, it deals 4 damage to any target, then it gets to attack and deal 4 more damage to any target. Carnosaur is also great because we just get a trample haste, discover 5, and then it goes back into exile, and then we could just cast it again and discover again, which is really, really good. I wanted to find threats that were very good on their own in our big red deck, but also cards that like we could reasonably cast. You know, I didn't want to just like put in an Emrakul and be like, oh, we're trying to Emrakul people. I wanted to just play a big red deck where we kind of get the best of both worlds with these cards, and we certainly do. We're also playing 4 copies of Bonecrusher Giant. It's just a good card. I mean, that's why we're playing it. It's a 2-drop burn spell, 3 mana. It's a good sized creature. It's pretty much why we're playing the Bonecrusher Giant. But those are all the creatures that we're playing in the deck. Let's talk about our non-creatures. We're playing 4 Fable of the Mirror Breaker, 4 Burst Lightning, and I guess technically 4 Spikefield Hazard. I'm more considering it a land in this deck, but we are playing 4 copies of Spikefield Hazard. Fable of the Mirror Breaker is just pretty self-explanatory. It's Fable. It's one of the best cards in the entire metagame. And then Burst Lightning is just good. We go kind of big with our mana, so we can definitely kick this pretty easily for the most part. So that's why I chose Burst Lightning instead of a card like Torch the Tower, for instance. But let's go and hop into our lands here. We're playing 22 lands with an asterisk with the 4 Spikefield Hazard. So technically we're playing 26 lands. I wanted to make sure we had plenty of lands to be able to play all of our big threats, and, you know, we exile cards. So we're going to be able to get a lot of lands into play and stuff like that. So that's why we're playing that many lands. But we're also playing 4 Den of the Bugbear, 4 Raminap Ruins, and 1 Sukenzen as our mono red utility lands. Just makes sense. I mean, we're a monocolor deck, so we might as well just play a full suite of the man lands. Raminap Ruins is also great, able to take our opponent down once we get them a little bit low in life total. Sometimes all we really need is just 1 or 2 activations of Raminap Ruins, and then we're able to finish the game. We are also playing 1 Cavern of Souls and 2 Mutavaults in our deck. We're just playing the 1 Cavern because we're not like crazy deep into the Kavus. Like obviously we have a decent amount of them, but we're not playing like a full-on suite of them. So I didn't want to play multiple Cavern of Souls. We're also playing the 2 copies of Mutavault. It's just a good card. I mean, with the Possibility Technician, sometimes like we might not have a Kavu in play, and we can activate the Mutavault to be able to play a spell, which is pretty handy. And then we're also playing 10 basic mountains, and as our spicy basic land of the day, once again including the full art from Edge of Eternities. I really do like this one. It reminds me of the planet in Star Fox with like the big lava, it's not a lobster guy. I don't know. It's like this weird alien. I'm forgetting the name of the lava planet all of a sudden, but that's what this world reminds me of. You can't get like too close to the lava because otherwise you start taking a whole bunch of damage. I don't know. That's just what it reminds me of. And it's Adam McCat, fantastic artist in the game. Okay, so the next thing we have to talk about is our sideboard. So we are a mono-red sideboard, so it might look a little bit clunky, but I always love to mention this. If your sideboard looks a little bit different than mine, that's totally fine. This is just based off of what I would personally run, at least, playing on Magic Arena as well as Paper Magic. So we're paying the full floor suite of Pithing Needle. I think that it's just a really important card of the metagame, most notably for dealing with an Unholy Annex and Ritual Chamber. We're mono red. We don't really have any good ways to get rid of enchantments, so that's why I'm playing the full 4 copies of Pithing Needle, but it's also just really good against a number of different cards in the metagame. We're also playing 2 copies of Grafdigger's Cage, great against Arclight Phoenix in decks like Collected Company piles. It's just a really good card in the metagame. We're also playing the 2 copies of Unlicensed Hearse. It's Graveyard Hate, nothing more than that. I mean, technically we can warp these into play. Not that we're ever going to actually do that, but it'd be kind of funny. But we are also playing 3 copies of Magebane Lizard. It's great against all the different spell slinging decks. They're going to take a lot of damage from Magebane Lizard. 2 copies of Abrade. It's just extra removal, but also deals with Corey Steelcutter. So that's why we're playing 2 copies of that. And then we're also playing 2 copies of Anger of the Gods. I'm seeing a lot more of those like graveyard value dredge decks recently, so I really think Anger of the Gods is actually the best 3-mana board wipe you can currently play. I usually like to play Slagstorm in this slot, but I'm kind of back on Anger of the Gods right now. All those people are trying to reanimate all these different creatures from the graveyard, and I don't like that, so that's why we're playing 2 copies of Anger of the Gods. So the next thing we have to talk about is tips and strategy for this deck. It's really just if you're looking to play this deck, maybe it'll help you realize something you didn't know before as well as some good interactions. I've got 2 things that we have to go over. So the first thing is, Defiler only pays for 1 red. You can't just so for instance, was Overlord is red 3. You can't just pay 4 life and then 3 mana. It only pays for 1 of the red. I know a lot of people didn't really realize that's how the card worked, and that is how it works. So I just wanted to mention that I'd hate for you to play a Defiler Vigor and then next turn you're like, oh, I'm gonna pay 6 and then play this. Nope, you can't do that, unfortunately. So do keep that in mind. It's only once for each spell that you're casting. So just keep that in mind with Defiler. And then the other thing I have to mention is warp these creatures. We kind of talked about it a little bit already, but Tanook, the reason it's in the deck, the only reason Tanook is in this deck is because, well, it's a good Kavu, but also because of, being able to cheat in these big threats that are already just pretty good. So, I mean, Overlord is kind of like an Inferno Titan when we get to put it into play. So, yeah, just kind of keep that in mind with this card. I think you could theoretically impending this, but I wouldn't really impend it with the warp, even if you could. I personally wouldn't. I don't know. But yeah, just make sure we're warping these creatures. Put Tanook into play and just start slamming our big threats for only 3 mana. It's going to help us win the game very, very fast. So the last thing that I have to talk about is the budget options for this deck, which is pretty self-explanatory. You can swap out the Cavern of Souls. I mean, that's the only expensive land that's pretty much in the deck. You can also swap out Overlord of the Boiler Bilges. I always want to pronounce it the opposite way. And then Fable of the Mirror Breaker. That's really about it, though, for the most part. You can also swap out Tanook, which, if you do swap him out, I know the card is, like, a decent amount of money right now just because people are wanting to play it in Commander and such, but it is really good in this deck. Being able to warp all of our big red threats is pretty awesome, but it's not necessarily 100% essential to the list, but it definitely makes, like, Possibility Technician a lot worse. So do keep that in mind if you're looking to build this deck. But the current list, as it's constructed right now, is only $163 US, which makes sense. We're not playing any expensive dual lands, we don't have Otawara or Beseiju or anything, so it's a pretty reasonably costed deck. But the budget list, I was able to get down to $72 US. All I did was I trimmed the Cavernous Souls, and then I swapped out the Overlord of the Boiler Bilges for, what was it? It was the red Combustible Gearhulk. That was the substitution that I made, just because, Overlord it's a couple bucks, so I figured I'd go ahead and swap that out. I also did swap out Fable of the Mirror Breaker for the new Red Saga from Final Fantasy. I'm forgetting the name of it all of a sudden, but it has a similar effect to it. It's 3 mana, that's why I went and made that substitute. But yeah, this deck was really fun to make. Again, I never thought I was going to be making a Kavu deck on the channel here, but I'm really happy that Edge of Eternities did make some Kavus finally return. And who knows, maybe we'll get some more, at least in some upcoming sets here, and maybe we'll be able to do a full-on Kavu aggro deck, but we'll kind of see what happens. But overall, I'm really excited about the return of Kavus. And that takes us to the end of the video here. Thanks so much for watching. The deck lists are in the description below if you'd like to check them out for yourself. Huge shout out to our channel members, Ralph, Matt, Arcadius, Ray, Gary, Cyrilnoki, Michael D, our premium channel member, The Comic Cold, Jeremy P, and BG Stilts. If you're interested in being a channel member, it starts at $1 US a month, and you gain access to the exclusive Commander Crane Discord, as well as other features here on the channel. So, I'm Commander Crane, thanks for watching this video, and hope to catch you in the next one.